this country is not a country that has closed its doors to, looking at our great thinkers, great masters. They've always said you must keep your mind and your doors open, but don't be swept off your feet by a flimsy wind from somewhere. Gandhi's famous quote: "I refuse to be swept off my feet because I'm rooted in values that are global, that are universal in nature." So globalizing Indian thought, which was essentially look at our global impact of ideas, of thoughts, of values. And so those values will not change. What will change is the operationalization of them. Better quality. Why would IIM come? If you don't have a good building, if you don't have good infrastructure, you will not be able to attract global talent. People will look at buildings, they look at swimming pool. If you look at the advertisement of Delhi schools, almost look like tourist promotion brochures. Horse riding, swimming pool. I mean, what has that got to do with education? But surely they have something. Otherwise, why would they advertise? People's perceptions are generated based on So you live in a world of perception, and Indian education must be packaged for global. Our education is easily going to be aspirational for Africa, for most of Asia, for Eastern Europe. They are not going to get this kind of quality of education at the price point of Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, Harvard. Why we have not been able to create an aspiration for them? Primarily because it was locked into its self-belief that we don't need anything, we have everything, we are Vishwaguru without doing anything. You can't be Vishwaguru without reaching out to the Vishwa. You can't be sitting here and say, I'm Vishwaguru. You have to go out there and test your mettle. So Nalanda, Takshashila, they tested their mettle. People came there, they went out, we went out. And so you can't sit here and take a position and say, I'm the greatest. You have to go there and prove. And so that's how Indian education is poised. IIT has gone to now Africa. IIM is poised to go to Middle East. And so we are slowly, our foot, and we must go out there on our own terms. So the conversation with the Australian High Commissioner was not misplaced. He says, and then he asked me a question, the Commissioner, that how can you globalize the Indian thought? Thought is not Indian, it is, I said, no, thought has a context. No thought comes without a context. He said, give me an example. I said that there was an agriculture specialist from Australia. He said, look, your agriculture is about pest control. Our agricultural practices in the past were about keeping aside a part of the crop for pests, so that pests would not be treated as pests, they would be treated as part of our ecology. Now, if you destroy those pests, you destroy the ecological balance. You're learning in the long haul that we have destroyed. Climate change is a result of values. It's not about knowledge, it's about the values that drove that knowledge. And those values are going to be very, very critical going forward. And I think India is a custodian of some perennial values, and we cannot afford to compromise on that.
You said that about globalizing Indian thought, not globalizing Indian religion. That's a bold statement in the current context. Could you elaborate? Because most people misunderstand globalizing Indian thought is equivalent to globalizing Indian religion.
Well, that is their understanding. I can't do much about it. What I can say is that if you look at what globalization was, what it is, and what it is likely to be. A lot of people talk about globalization. It was thought that globalization is an extension of the economic might. So you must be able to trade freely. So trade routes would open up, and a product here would go to product there. Google will dominate internet connectivity all over the world. Today you realize that that kind of globalization has ended with COVID. Google has no presence in China. It cannot see zero presence in China. It may have 99.99% presence here. So China has evolved its own mechanism. India will evolve its own mechanism. Rupee is now challenging the dollar. And the point I'm trying to make is this whole thing called economic globalization has reached its limit because people have suffered as a result of this. The inequity between rich and poor has only grown. Africa has been destroyed completely. It has done some good things. It has made democracies prosper. It has 6 times the income of Vietnam, Bangladesh, India, 6 times it has grown. It has made people economically prosperous, but it has come at a cost. So the next phase of globalization will be about values. You see, if there is a tough war between two countries, the alignment will be not based on geography or economic power, but based on ideologies, values. And so values will become the next theme for globalization. So if you have to have a bunch of people coming together, they have to have a shared value. Today Cyprus is part of European Union, but it has got relationship with Russia. Cyprus is an outcast in the European Union. They don't want Cyprus. Why? Not because they are not part of the economic, but because they are ideologically they are different. Are you with me? Yes. Hong Kong is part of China, but Hong Kong connects more with more than China. So it's about values. It is not about economy or geography. See, it's the next phase of globalization. So I said, why would globalization of thought be important? Because India has some of the deepest and the most respected democratic values of the world. This is truly a deep democracy, although we may not see it on the surface. Truly a deep democracy, and we see this in the way people are. Commonly, people are ethical by and large. If you see the lowest strata of Indian society, it is not as bad as the highest. I can give you an example. I'm in Calcutta and I am trying to get to a bus that goes to IIM campus. And I missed the bus, and the bus is running away in front of me, so I catch hold of an auto guy. I said, can you help me catch the bus? He says, from here to the next bus stop, the fare is 3 rupees. Will you be able to give me that money? I said, yes, I'll give you that money. So he runs behind the bus, we get into the bus, and I give him a 5 rupee note in those days. And he's supposed to return 2 rupees to me. I assumed that, why would I do it 2 rupees? I give away 5, and I got into the bus. He's chasing the bus until he can return the $2. I wouldn't see this in the highest echelons of Indian society. This is a very deeply democratic society. At multiple levels, you will see the democracy at work. That's why politicians, despite all their might, are still scared of the so-called illiterate population, because they're scared of right thinking. They're scared of a deeply held set of values that drives an Indian. Despite so much misery, so much poverty, our ethical standards are much better compared to many parts of the world. You may or may not trust it when you are synonymous with corruption, but I think most parts of India are incorruptible.